Hello, everybody. Hope you all can hear me. There we are. Apologies, a little bit late because traffic was pretty bad today. But got here, got my food, ate, and here I am. Okay, I know it's been a bit, but here we are. Okay, so this is going to be a special stream. We're going to have David co-hosting with us today because we got a lot of stuff to go through. I mean, this country has been losing its collective mind. I think we can say that this country has lost it in a way. But we're here. We're still alive. There were no mercenary bands that were sacrificed yesterday. The moon did not come into a collision course with the planet. We are fine. We're here. There were no creatures coming out of the eclipse. So everything is perfectly fine. It was a nothing burger. It was very nice to see. I got a whole bunch of pictures and videos and stuff. But we'll go ahead and show that later. Hope you all can hear me here. Let's see. Let's make sure. Okie dokie. There we go. Let's invite David on here.
All right.
There we are. How's it going, man?
Well, I'm doing good.
Okay. Man, we got a lot of news to cover, man.
Oh, I know. We got a lot.
So, I know. It's just... So, David, what do you think? We have basically our infrastructure is falling apart over here. Literally, some of it's just falling into the water. We're really far behind when it comes to rail infrastructure, particularly. But what do you think the U.S. government wants to build a train?
Well, I think it did happen. Like, if we can finally get our butt together, or get everything invested the proper way instead of trying to be cheapskate and trying to do short-term profit, we might do good.
We might,
but we're right now in a pretty bad predicament, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And then here's the thing. The U.S. government, instead of wanting to build a train or any sort of high-speed rail or any sort of train anywhere, they're now pushing DARPA to go ahead and push for Northrop Grumman to go ahead and build a train on the moon. Not anywhere on Earth, on the moon. So I killed you nuts. So here's a couple articles on this. All aboard the moon train, DARPA is trying to figure out how to build a lunar railway. So it's pretty crazy, as silly and as stupid as it sounds. DARPA is tasking one of the military-industrial complex companies, Northrop Grumman, as if they need anything else, to go ahead and develop a concept for a lunar railway. And they're paying millions of dollars to just develop the concept for this. So we haven't even gone anywhere substantial here on this planet, let alone America, when it comes to just building any sort of substantial transportation system. But now we haven't even built a base on the moon. We're not even there. Okay, we haven't built Von Braun or anything like that. Anything cool? We haven't built anything cool. Okay, there's no base on the moon. We're not in Gundam, but we're gonna build a train somehow on the moon.
It's so pathetic that our government is doing it. Like, literally, I don't even have faith in our own government anymore,
Yeah, this is just...
It's ridiculous,
Yeah, I mean, it's bad. Okay, so guys, for anybody in the audience, we're going to go ahead and take questions a little bit after. We're going to go through some articles. Me and David are going to opine on them, and then we'll go into bringing in people on board to go ahead and speak, opine, and share your thoughts on all of this. But yeah, this is...
I do want to bring up that Brightline might be running a little late because of family, so he was supposed to join us in the live stream too. He running a little late.
No worries. We're all good. I've been running late too, but yeah. So we had an eclipse, and DARPA wants to go ahead and build a train on the moon. For those of you who are just joining in right now, yeah, this is kind of silly, even to the point that the Rail Passengers Association has also opined on this as well. and think this is just silly and stupid. I agree. Yes, you read right. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, the people who brought you the internet, recently awarded a contract to Northrop Grumman to look at ways to build a railroad on the moon in 10 years' time. 10 years. Meanwhile, back down here on Earth, we're told it's great news that the Federal Railroad Administration is considering opening some new long-distance routes in 36 years. Talk about priorities. And that's on existing track that doesn't have to be built from scratch. What is wrong with this picture? A lot. we don't even have to go into that. There's a lot wrong.
I agree with that like literally did a thing I'll be on it about you literally keep on kicking the can down for the next generation, and I'm going to bring up a real quick chance. Is that not the baby boomer, they screwed everything up for us. They really did.
I mean, yeah, it's just... Go ahead.
They keep on telling us to pick our strap up, buy our food, and work harder. Really? Coming from the generation that was spoiled and had everything handed to them on a silver platter? Am I right?
Yeah, it's just... it's gone really silly. But, I mean, this is just crazy where things have gone. But yeah, I mean, this is just really silly. So that's really one thing. I mean, it just goes to show you how terrible this country has got. Again, we've lost our collective minds over here. Probably collectively as the West, but America in general has been taking everybody down in insanity. So we're going to talk a lot about some airplanes and Boeing, but first let's watch this video of, speaking of somebody going insane. Here's a female pilot completely going just nuts. I mean, just tell me if this person seems like somebody who is a sane, collected person who seems responsible and you're ready to trust your life with this person who's going to take you 30,000 plus feet up into the air to fly you to a destination. Okay, it's a very, very tricky task to do, but this person thinks that they deserve to be your pilot. So listen to this.
Okay, if you don't feel safe, get off the airplane.
This is your captain speaking, but never like this.
I'll stop, and we'll fly the airplane. Don't worry, I'm going to let my co-pilot fly it. He's a man. Okay?
What? It's just crazy when you just think about it.
It's nuts.
Heck, Dane, I remember back almost 50 years ago, they tried that crap, they would have got fired, you know?
Yeah. But let's continue seeing this here. It's kind of an older video. It has just popped up more into the internet now because it's become, again, it's still recent enough, but this is becoming a thing more and more, right?
It has.
So, I mean, it's just think about it. This is someone who doesn't want to change into the uniform. Again, look, the first thing you got to do into a job, even if when I worked at Publix, okay, I had to make sure that I was shaved down. I had to make sure that I was wearing my uniform to work at Publix, okay? So the least you can do as a pilot is at least look professional, at least look the part, right? So
I have a uniform.
Yeah, this is just nuts. Okay, so let's finish this. We got like 30 seconds left of this video. Let's just go through it and let me opine on this.
For divorce and political candidates, and the minute she mentioned that, a gentleman stood up and just yelled, "Whoa, enough!"
I mean, she's talking about her divorce. She's talking about political candidates. She's getting political. I mean, this is someone who is who's crazy. This is someone who is sociopathic. That should be nowhere near a joystick.
You're scaring me.
You know, I'm going to bring it up and it changes on our generation. We get ticked off when people like that get fired, and we said, "Don't fire them." Like, I'm going to bring up my generation, Gen Z. There's one pet peeve about my generation is when people get fired that they don't agree that should be get fired, when those people are straight up dangerous, they get ticked off about.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and...
Sorry.
I know. Let me go ahead and finish this. Apparently, Stephen Becker is saying that it's an old video. The pilot was fired, and it's from 2011. Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. It's still, this is kind of a little bit. Again, this was just something just quick. Let's get through this so we can get through the real meat of where this live stream is.
Gave a running commentary on social media. Pilot also insulted a couple on board.
Did I offend you? Okay, so did I purposely offend you? I did. The answer is yes. Flight attendants, please disarm doors.
After 20 passengers insisted on getting off the United Airlines flight, the pilot quietly left the aircraft.
20 people had left. So yeah, you don't want to trust in somebody doing that. But let's fast forward now, 13, 14 years later, and here is the stuff that we're looking at right now. This is just crazy. Okay, so again, planes going on fire, and again, this is back from 2023. Okay. Here we are on September 30th, United Airlines Boeing 737 MAX flight from Denver to Boston suffered an engine fire during the takeoff phase. The crew rejected takeoff, resulting in multiple tire bursts, and the aircraft stopped on the runway. Okay, so again, these issues with the MAX 9 and several other Boeing models have been a thing for quite a while. Okay. This is the newest one now. Is the whole engine cowling falling off. And again, this probably is less to do with Boeing
Airlines during takeoff
and more to do with the crew on the ground that were going ahead and inspecting the aircraft. They probably forgot to shut the cowling out because there are certain snaps that you have to go ahead and like the hood off a car, right? Basically, they forgot to shut the hood, more or less. Probably
Exactly.
this is just silly stuff that just keeps happening more and more.
in Denver
And the
last
other
night.
thing is,
Listen
and
to the
I'm gonna
pilot
bring
and
it up,
air
is
traffic
that
control working
we
together
don't
to
go through checks, seeing who can fly. Like, literally, we don't even do those anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's so freaking scary. Heck, there are reasons why the U.S. will look like in a bad way right now. Like, we're the laughing stock of the world.
Yeah, I mean,
know?
it's and this is something that we shouldn't be, look, it's one thing when it's one or two accidents, and people are getting a little bit more scared, right? There's certain things now, and this is one video that, people are getting a little bit freaked out about any sort of little movement on a plane, right? For example, here's something that's completely normal on airplanes, right? And I just thought it was just silly that this was news. Plane wing bounces in high winds on descent into Denver. This is normal. I mean,
That is normal.
yeah. And we have to be fair, right? This is something that happens. Look, plane wings especially have to have some sort of flexibility. They cannot be super rigid or they'll snap. So it has to be.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the least that I've seen. It has to be like that. That's not a big deal. But it goes into saying, and this is the thing that's going on right now, is that people are becoming more and more nervous about flying on airplanes, which is still very safe comparatively, especially compared to driving anywhere in the United States. Okay? And even in some cases, it's actually safer than trains, when you take Amtrak, for instance. Okay? Certainly the safest mode of travel is by far the train. When we're talking about like maybe the Shinkansen, I mean, we're talking about 10 billion people and 0 operational fatalities. That's by far the safest mode of transportation ever. But, again, stuff like this, that's normal. Okay? So we do need to calm down a little bit. Okay? But, okay, you may need to hold your collective-ish. Okay, and I'll just curse this little once. You may need to hold your collective shit sometimes if you're going to be flying on Boeing. Because here's something that happened. Alaska Airlines flight from Hawaii to Alaska forced to turn around due to the loo overflowing with poo. It flooded. The whole cabin flooded. Look at the poor stewardess here is just feebly throwing whatever they can of whatever paper towels they can. But yeah, look at it. It's going down the whole entire aisle. Look at that.
Hey, Demetrius, I get that of a little flying shit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's yeah. I do not envy them right now. It's a pretty crappy task to be doing. Yeah.
I will have to admit that is definitely a crap storm right there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I get that a poop avenue for you.
Yeah. So, real quickly, we're going to go quickly into the headlines over here. So, a top politician said he avoids flying on Boeing planes because his family cares about him. An airline boss jumped to his defense and called him stupid, and then replied that I would happily fly any Boeing aircraft. Experts say travel should feel safe flying. And they go into this article saying, well, all the seats are safe seats. There's no safer seat, you know. But there are safe seats. These are the safest seats on an airplane, according to aviation experts. So, yeah, there actually are safest seats, and they're the ones closer to the back. You have less of... You have a marginal percentage of surviving in a crash, and that's over, multiple crashes. Again, these are articles you guys can look at.
That's true.
Again, this is just going now for people to just start thinking, this is more recent news, and people are now starting to rethink how to get around this country, what is going on with our infrastructure system, what is going on with our manufacturing, what is going on with America as a whole. Why are these things just happening more and more often? That we're going back and forth on this, okay? To the point that people are just, this is a normal thing now. Whistleblowers being found dead for going against what Boeing would say this is safe. So if it was safe, why is he dead? It's kind of strange.
I knew the guy.
Yeah, I mean.
It's scary that I actually knew the guy. Like, he literally came by my Walmart back when he used to still work for Boeing, and he said that he could not stand them, kicking well-trained people out just for, to be inclusive, with trying to, be all equality-like. Like, the thing is that when you throw good working people out just to try to make yourself inclusive, like for everybody, you start screwing up. Am I right?
Yeah. So just a short summary of what happened in case you guys don't know, because at this point everybody probably should know. John Barnett used to work with Boeing. He was pretty high up in the manufacturing sector of Boeing in South Carolina, where they make the 737. And he has been whistleblowing for years about a lot of the safety violations over at Boeing. Fast forward closer to the day, he was found dead with a apparent gunshot to the head after shortly making statements to his lawyers and getting ready to go ahead and testify against Boeing in a public court of law. So there's a lot of things that are weird, and it doesn't add up with the typical suicides. Somebody who's going to commit suicide probably wouldn't eat their last meal at the hotel restaurant. They either wouldn't eat, or they probably would go all out and eat the biggest meal they've ever had in their entire life. Okay? Again, possibility. Yes, that he committed suicide, probably. But again, very strange. Very, very strange. Now, the South Carolina, the Charleston police, local police and local PD is supposedly going ahead and investigating the case. Honestly, this should be probably bumped up to another agency. Again, it's a little weird, and there's probably let's put it this way, a lot of police departments are very closely funded and very closely tied with a lot of the power players in the local area. Okay? There's a lot of corruption, especially today in America's police departments. I'm not going to get too caught up in it. David, let's not get too caught up into it. Everybody's very aware. Okay? So it's very strange how all this has been going on. Okay? To the point that this was an article from 3 weeks ago. The Boeing whistleblowers from Fortune magazine. The Boeing whistleblower's death is a tragic reminder that society still expects people like John Barnett to become martyrs. And again, going into saying that this is sort of a normal thing now in America. You get a whistleblow, you could end up dead. Okay? You have a little booklet with a lot of powerful names that came to your little island. You're probably gonna end up dead. Okay, and anybody that's connected to that, okay? This is just, it's weird. It's strange. It's something that should very much perk the ears of a lot of people and say, hey, there's something wrong going on. There's something very strange.
That is true, and heck, I knew the guy, and when he told me he had it up here with Boeing, he wanted to whistleblow, but he knew he was going to put himself on a target. That for sure, and I kind of figured that too, because let's be honest, that stuff would put anybody on a target. Am I right?
Yeah. So it's very strange. And more bad news for Boeing. The FBI has told the passengers of American Airlines flight that they may be the victim of a crime. Just maybe. Not that they are the victim of a crime, but they may be the victim of a crime. So they have been doing a class action lawsuit. They're probably going to do a criminal lawsuit as well, on top of a civil lawsuit that's already undergoing. So, yeah, more the bad news Boeings. So, yeah. This, I think, was a very good article. This came out a week ago. It's called The Boeing Nosedive. I'm going to go through it real quick because I think this is a good article. Again, I'm going to just go through it as quickly as possible. Again, talking about John Barnett. Saturday, March 9th, lawyers Rob Turkowitz and Brian Knowles were looking forward to getting his story on the record. Barnett had worked in the company's South Carolina plant, building 787 airliners from 2011 to 2017, during which time he'd witnessed numerous safety violations. After he took his complaints public, Barnett alleged Boeing had punished him by denying him promotions and forcing him to retire early. By suing, he sought not only to redress his own mistreatment, but also to push Boeing to revamp its safety culture. The need was urgent. Boeing's reputation has been in free fall since the start of the year, starting to the blowout of a door plug on a brand new 737 MAX 9 over Oregon, and continuing with a series of well-publicized mishaps, including an incident just the day before when a wheel fell off a 777 leaving San Francisco. And then we're going into what happened. Conspiracy theories exploded, which, again, is it a conspiracy that this guy may have been killed? Yeah. What a conspiracy is multiple people getting together to go ahead and commit some sort of crime or commit some sort of action. You can be charged for conspiracy to murder in the United States. It's not again, the whole term is just silly in terms of the context that is being used. It's incorrect, okay? Because people can't read or understand words anymore. Intensifying further, after a relative claim to a local TV station that Barnett had told her that if anything happens, it's not a suicide. Okay? So this...
Oh, yeah, we got Genesis. He on now. Go ahead and bring him on. All
right. Well, let's finish this article. We'll bring him on right after this to go ahead and reply, because this is pretty important. There were two ways to interpret the story. Either Boeing's communication strategy had been expanded to include assassination, probably, or its reputation had become so toxic that the public found it possible to believe the worst. So either way, it's again, the timing of this is terrible. It's not good at all. Fantasies aside,
there's 52.
Yeah. Fantasy aside, Boeing's in trouble. I mean, there's even now websites on Kayak that you can find flights that aren't a 737 MAX. So, I mean, it's getting worse and worse for Boeing. But the funny thing about this article, it goes into when Boeing brought in McDonnell Douglas. And the really bad thing about that was that it was run, if you guys have ever read The Man Who Broke Capitalism, about Jack Welch and how he turned General Electric from a once respectable American company, started by Thomas Edison. We're talking about a company that had revolutionized the way Americans live, into an absolute behemoth, a military industrial complex monster that was just became a toxic place to work at. And just became, sort of what people would call the epitome of the corporate American monster from the 1980s. Okay, it's a heavy read, but it's something that has happened. So cutting as much as you can in order for profits, in order to put the shareholders over on top of actually making a good product and serving society. Again, if you're making a profit the right way, it's not only just the money, but you're making a societal profit as well in terms of moving society and the country and its people and its families forward. Okay? So again, talking about how everything, what was a disaster over here, how many CEOs that Boeing has gone through. Okay? Their last CEO has just gotten a golden parachute for over $20 million. So imagine that, you mess up, you still have CEOs, they keep getting, sweetheart deals to leave and golden parachutes. And now this latest CEO just, I'm sorry, I messed up. Give me $20 million. The only parachute this guy should be getting is a parachute that was stuck in a room with a cat that was on major cocaine for hours. And that parachute should be dropped off at 30,000 feet with him. That's the only parachute that this man deserves. Okay, this is just ridiculous. Okay, the cat's not in the parachute, guys. The cat is in the room with the parachute. Okay, you can only imagine what a cat on cocaine would do to a parachute. But please, this is just insane. So you can go into this article. Look at this. McNamee also fought to deeply cut costs. On his watch, the company operated its first non-unionized aircraft production line, initiated a program called Partners for Success that pushed suppliers to cut their prices by 15% or more. Many feared that squeezing suppliers would harm the quality of their components. It does. But McNerney was determined to recoup the cost of the 787's development. Okay? If the subcontractors complained, they could find their work taken away from them, as happened to the landing gear maker, United Technologies Aerospace Systems. And landing gears are falling apart or blowing up in a fire. I wonder why.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And again, another retirement, handpicking successor, another Jack Welch type. Again, this just keeps going and going and going. So you can sort of see, just again, this is very bare bones, very quick summary of what I'm doing. But this is a fantastic article, very much laying the groundwork for why Boeing is where it is right now. And this is not just Boeing. There's so many other American companies that have gone through this process. Of course, you can see American Airlines being headed by a certain person we love to go ahead and talk about on this channel that we've encountered so many times. Okay, but that sort of behavior has just permeated through many of America's companies. It's become the de facto way to run a company and finding ways to cut down service, cut down the ways that a company runs, cut this, cut that, in order to find ways to go ahead and bump up money to the shareholders or buy back the stocks. Again, for the benefit of the shareholders. But what about it should be. But look at this. Look, tires falling off and everything. Again, this is just what's going on. This is what happens when you gut a company of its soul and take it from what used to be a respectable American company that stood for something into this. All right, now let's bring on another co-host over here. Let's bring on Genesis.
All right.
Again, we're going really quickly through these articles. That's all the Boeing articles that I have here. Genesis, welcome aboard, man.
Welcome up. Well, thanks for having me right now. Geez, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
About American companies, especially Boeing, because Boeing has had recent problems with its 737, and those things are not new, actually.
Yeah, the 737 project was what revolutionized air travel around the world. Okay, because you had your what you had before was nowhere close to how planes function today. Okay, this is completely revolutionized that. We're still using a 50-year-old, more or less 50-year-old design, or 60-year-old design if you really look at it, from when they started to develop it. Yeah, but it's been modified to keep being relevant to today. Okay, kind of like the Volkswagen Beetle. I mean, the original Beetle was still being produced in Mexico up until the late 2000s. Okay, so I mean, we're talking about a good design that just holds up and does well. But and again, this is a good solution over here in this article that I found. To save itself, Boeing could look into the past, returning to centering engineers, committing to training and retaining a skilled and experienced workforce, investing in building new aircraft with the latest technology. And Boeing has indeed made some limited steps in that direction, probably too late. And probably not enough because, unfortunately, after the coup, a lot of the older engineers were, again, forced to retire like Barnett. Okay? And I know plenty of people at so many companies that were forced to retire at their previous companies. You had people that came in, they weren't trained properly, or they just brought in a whole bunch of new crowd. They changed the way everything ran at the company, and it's just gone to crap. I mean, if you look at a lot of American cars right now, we have the highest amount of recalls for automobiles, new automobiles made in this country, for much of the same reasons.
Probably is not just Boeing that has the same problem. It's the airlines as well. You've got so much flight attendants retiring, so much pilots. Hey, we're almost having a pilot shortage.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty bad.
We'll have more of these pilots coming up soon. More of the sociopaths and the psychopaths who believe they deserve the job, who won't even get dressed in proper uniform, and then go ahead and talk insanely about their life story and their struggles and all. That's not a mentally well person. That starts.
That's a woke person, and there's a certain candidate that said everything woke goes to goes to crap.
I mean, this is just beyond woke. This is just insane.
It is.
It's insane. All right, so let's go to Brightline. Now, unfortunately, we don't have bright news for Brightline because, and again, this can be taken plenty of different ways. I see this as taken kind of in a silly fashion. There was really no need for this to happen, and it's it is pretty hypocritical, especially when you consider how much money is spent on other forms of infrastructure that don't at all make money. But here's...
Brightline has wrapped their trains, not covering their windows. So that's a plus side.
Yeah, but again, it's what I'm talking about here is that it's hypocritical that governments will go ahead and pay billions and billions of dollars for roads that essentially don't work the way they should. But they can't even, pinch a little bit of pennies here and there for trains. And it's not just, state governments, right? Because we see this in the federal government too, okay? Because they'll go ahead and spend, just rubber stamp, overnight, billions of dollars to be sent to aid to a certain country in the Middle East and a certain country in Eastern Europe for billions of dollars to pay for ways to kill young men. But they won't pay for any jobs to go ahead and help young men in this country to learn certain skills and build this country. Don't
get me started on those guys on the boys who not on the boys, but the people who hate men actually.
Yeah, and it sounds like some sort of silly platitude, but this is honest when you look at it. It is very just kind of sick, right? We have a country that's in a sense antinatalist. It's very against the youth and helping the youth. I mean, look at the vitriol just even mentioning about doing anything for student loan debt. Okay, that's apparently too hard. And look, I'm pretty much very right. But when it comes to student debt, yes, I believe that they are for real predatory loans. I mean, you can't you expect an 18-year-old that now they can't drink, now they can't smoke. They just got out of high school, so they're not that smart. But yet they can sign up for hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans, but they don't have the credit score in order to go ahead and get a car. They have to co-sign with somebody, but they can sign all by themselves, no problem, for $20,000, $30,000 for a student loan. and they can't default on it. They can't go ahead and claim bankruptcy on it like any other sort of debt. And it follows them forever. This is silly. You know what? Maybe we should all just stop and let the banks, because the banks will go ahead. The banks have gotten golden parachutes. The banks have gotten, like this, rubber stamped, billions of dollars. So it's just silly. But anyway, back to
The banks
topic.
are always too big to fail.
Yeah, that's too big to fail. But the youth of this country, no, don't worry. You gotta bootstraps.
Youth of this generation,
Oh god.
the youth of this generation have finally realized, saying, "Hey, I am going to end up in debt if I do this." Like, our generation is starting to realize that it's a trap, and we're not doing it. Like, literally, and we're starting to, want to go for, like, trade schools instead of college and all that.
I can't blame them. I absolutely don't blame them.
Yeah. All right. So going on to Ron DeSantis saying Florida won't pay for Brightline expansion. And again, this can be taken in multiple ways. The good thing about Brightline is that, yes, it's a private company. They do have public activity bonds, which everybody was, certain people were complaining that, that's a form of public funding. Yes, but they have to pay it back. Okay, and the bonds are, again, there's a certain time frame to be paid back. And when it comes to these large infrastructure projects, this is something that you're not going to expect to all of a sudden once it starts selling to make money. The Japanese Shinkansen took 10 years to amortize its debt from 1964. It took until the 70s for the first line to go ahead and make money. Okay, there are several, and there are still several lines that do make very much a lot of money. Even in the United States, Amtrak makes a profit on the Acela. Amtrak makes a profit on the Surfliner. Amtrak makes a profit on the Auto Train. So yeah, even in our own country, and there's still plenty of transit lines that do make money, and it used to make a lot of money before. Yeah, it can be very much a successful and profitable business. But here we are. During a Wednesday press conference, DeSantis commented on his decision to deny state funding for construction and operations of high-speed rail operator Brightline. All right, so really quickly, Governor DeSantis held a press Wednesday where he signed a bill that addresses road projects, congestion, and other transportation issues. But there is one thing the bill does not improve: money for the proposed expansion of the high-speed rail between Orlando and Tampa. At Florida Polytechnic University, DeSantis commented on Florida lawmakers not including state funding for construction and operation of Brightline, which runs trains between Miami and Orlando. It's privately funded. I mean, we're not going to be on the hook as the state with taxpayers for doing trains. Okay?
But
so
I do want to bring up that it's funny that they won't support that, but they'll support a freaking widening project on a freaking road. Like, it's so stupid. Like, they would support that over, a freaking highway project. Am I right about that?
yeah. And the thing is that now it's not quite sure to what extent is the Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, going to pay for clearing up the I-4 section in between the corridor, because it's going to go on the right between the highway, right in there, a 44-foot wide corridor on the right-of-way. That's where Brightline is going to be running. Okay, very similar to what they're going to be doing in Las Vegas, between Victorville and Vegas, which they've already gotten federal funding for, which was surprising, and it was actually good. I'd rather there be billions of dollars given to Brightline than billions of dollars given to bullets and HIMARS and whatever else to go and blow up something. Okay, I would look. I'm all in favor of blowing things up. Okay, but let's blow up the right things. All right, I don't know why we're even over there.
Oh, speaking of that, Genesis, look in the chat, and Brightline, you want to look what I did in the, the chat.
In the chat, okay. Let me check.
In the
really-
live stream.
Oh boy.
Oh, brother, David! You, dang it! You're trying to make a James joke again? What a James reference!
Yeah. Okay.
You got me with that one.
I had to do it, man. Like, literally.
All right. Okay.
All right, just time.
Okay. So we're more than halfway there. Let's get to the rest of this. And this is maybe something that I may leave for another stream, because there's something that's called a death spiral, started by a guy named John Ioannidis, a Stanford professor, about society basically once they get to a point of no return, especially after what happened to the coup, things just start to get worse and worse and worse. Hence, what's called a death spiral.
And
Okay.
I get you, man. It's real. Man.
Yeah.
It's real.
I mean, look at this. So, really quickly through these headlines, Elon Musk predicting about electricity shortages. Again, a guy who's really dependent on electricity for many reasons. You can figure out why. Saying we're going to have like South Africa style electricity shortage, brownouts, blackouts, that sort of thing. All right, so that's one thing. 2 weeks ago, there was warnings about the drinking water issued nationwide in the United States about that there could be some sort of hack, according to the EPA, to again, like Iran's going to do it, but like they can barely figure out certain weapons, but somehow they're gonna have Hacker Man to go ahead and hack and put poo-poo into the drinking water. Okay, sure, but still, you never know, right? But and this is the crazy thing. This was a article that came out 3 weeks ago. So before a certain bridge fell down, this was an opinion article about bridges are collapsing and candidates aren't talking about it. Okay, and again, I've talked about this before. Long story short, more than a third of the bridges in the United States are so decrepit that they may fall apart. They are beyond a point of being able to exist without extreme amounts of maintenance. They have gone that far. Okay, but
Oh yeah, that for sure.
let me see where we are.
It's for sure.
Where did the article go here? Okay, now I can't find the bridge article.
Dimitri, I did send 2 memes, and one of them fits in what just happened right now.
Okay.
Sponsored by Genesis Fail.
I know. I'm trying to get to these articles. So let me see. Where's Baltimore Bridge cruise? I thought I had this up. Now I can't find it. Here we are.
Wow.
Here it is. Okay, got it. Okay. Key Bridge cleanup crews in Baltimore begin removing containers from the Dolly cargo ship. So if you don't know, the bridge got redeemed here. If you know what I mean. The ship Dolly, which funny enough, this ship also crashed in a Belgian port several years ago. This bridge hasn't. I mean, sorry. This ship hasn't had very good luck, right? The bridge didn't crash. It's the boat that crashed, right? But now they're finally going ahead and they have to take off all these containers before they can finally get the stuff off, move the bridge, and open up the port. Because it's an important port in America. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes through here. You've heard it for weeks. Okay, we're kind of late on this, but again, we have to go into this. That this is something that's becoming more and more of a norm here in America. It's just, again, you just never know if you're going to be going across a bridge and all of a sudden, oh no, sir, we're going to crash into the bridge, and you fall into the water, and that's it. Like the 6 poor guys here that were, funny enough, ironically, filling potholes on the bridge. Okay, so the only time, finally, when they're starting to fix the road, it doesn't end well for these guys. It's pretty terrible.
It's crazy. That is not a way to go. Like, if you remember, there was one Final Destination movie, Final Destination, where there was a bridge being worked on with construction workers, and that bridge collapsed.
Yeah.
If we all remember that movie.
Yeah. But it's getting crazy.
I remember a time when the United States actually knows how to build skyscrapers in less than 4 years, or maybe 6.
Yeah, I mean, anything, and they're still standing.
Yeah, and now it takes about 10 years or 20 years to build something.
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of red tape going on when it comes to building something.
All right.
And that's why we have less rail projects here.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
It's just getting worse and worse. But let's bring in some good news. I'm going to skip a lot of these articles. I'm going to leave it for next time because I think it may be feasible to talk about a little bit more of the craziness that's happening in America's transportation systems. Just a quick sneak peek. And you can tell this is a completely different country than what we used to have before. Haunting and heartwarming historic photos of underground travel. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you guys can sort of understand. I mean, look at this. Compared to the videos you see, and I'm only going to say this just very briefly, compared to the videos you're seeing of New York nowadays, this is a complete night and day difference of what this country has become. Here are people dressed up nicely. No one's getting beat up. No one's getting shot. No one's having some sort of weird street performer or schizo trying to punch them or something like that, or taking a dump in the middle of the subway or taking off all their clothes. I mean, look, this is just a completely different, completely different planet of people, of just what has happened to this country. Again,
that too.
Yeah.
Like,
that too.
it's so true and sad. And the thing is, everybody didn't want to, not want to take action to fix it.
And here's
Even
the thing. Heck, there's a lot of people who are in government institutions that want this kind of stuff. They don't do nothing, exactly nothing, to improve that.
Yeah.
Improve the situation.
It's just
Exactly.
it's just absolutely just I don't know. By the way, here's Glasgow, Scotland. So, some things just don't change, and this was back in the 1950s. People say, people are so engrossed in their phones and blah blah blah. Well, back then they had these things called newspapers. They still kind of exist today. Maybe some of you guys have heard about it, but some things change and some things just stay the same. This is just kind of one thing. But anyway, I thought it was interesting. We're going to go more into a stream just talking about, New York and several other just crazy things happening in the United States.
Speaking of New York, there are lots of businesses that are going out from New York. They're going out of business in New York.
Yeah, and I wonder why.
The crime there is horrendous.
Yeah,
there's a lot of crime going on.
It's gone terrible.
It is.
So, one little maybe bit of good news here. The U.S. traffic deaths have dropped in 2023 despite drivers logging more miles. Now again, if you zoom out the graph, it's still pretty high. Maybe this could be a year that it just goes a little bit low and it maybe goes back high because we still haven't gone below 40,000. According to early estimates, 40,990 people died in motor vehicle crashes in 2023, a 3.6% decrease in 2022 when 42,514 people were killed in crashes. It's still a lot, and it's still pretty high up compared to what it used to be before. And again, it was very strange during 2020 when everybody was supposedly working from home. There were a lot less miles being driven by anybody, and traffic fatalities shot up to record levels. We're still pretty much at record levels here. It's gone a bit better, but again, we have to see more data and more years to really see where things are going, but it's still pretty bad. A little bit less, but again, driving in America is probably one of the most dangerous things you do every day.
It's like a demolition derby.
Yeah. I mean, it's just getting bad.
That is definitely true. Now, I do have to say this, and it happened yesterday on Monday while heading into work. I was riding the bus Monday, and I saw 3 different car accidents. 3 different car accidents. One where a car was flipped around in a ditch, then, not even 2 to 3 miles later, there were 2 other car accidents right beside each other. Like, we had one car in the ditch in the right lane coming to Ravenel, like it was in the ditch. Then we had a 3-car fender bender on the left side heading into West Ashley. So cars are pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And again, I love cars. I love automobiles. I don't think most Americans should be driving and don't know how to operate an automobile. I think, honestly, this is probably one of the things that maybe should have stayed with a more aristocratic type of personality, because it's just... I mean, the cars are getting supposedly easier to drive. They're putting so many sensors and early warning systems to the point that people don't even know how to drive. It's already bad enough that you have people who shouldn't be driving larger and larger cars. And people do agree. One article over here, vast majority of Americans express concern over the growing size of trucks and automobiles. So yes, it is a real thing. And we'll talk about that at another stream. We've talked about it plenty of times before, but... Some good news, safety related. The FRA has required 2-person crews. This is something we've been saying that needs to be done. It should be something that, you have a pilot and co-pilot when you're flying. Okay? So why not have the same thing? Exactly.
To be NSF, go to riddance.
Yes. No more 1-person crews. No more, again, it's enough. You need 2-person crews, okay?
Oh yeah, and now that they put it at final as law, they can't even change it now.
Yeah, so now that's something. Again, there's a lot more to be done when it comes to doing something about precision scheduled railroading, which probably won't be done. Because funny enough, and we've talked about this before plenty of times, on Norfolk Southern, the train that crashed in East Palestine, they had to blow up and have caused permanent damage to the town. To this day, it's still uninhabitable, despite what they say. People are getting very sick, and there's really no real recourse that is being done for the people of East Palestine. There were 3 people on the train. There was an engineer, a conductor, and a conductor trainee. However, of course, we know what happened was the brakes overheated the wheel bearing. And instead of being able to stop the train, they were told to keep it going. It wasn't inspected properly before, like so many trains now under the rule of precision scheduled railroading are not getting the proper amount of just any sort of inspections. They're just being thrown out there to go ahead. Again, it's all about profit for the shareholders. Okay, if you can show a very high utilization rate of being able to go ahead and overuse a lot of the equipment, which is there's some equipment that's being cannibalized because they're burning through parts. Okay, this is just part of what's going on. Again, there's more safety regulations that need to be done. This is one good thing, but we need to get to the heart and the foundation of the root of the issue. Like we've talked about with Boeing, a lot of the same ways that American companies are being run, even in the railroads. Okay, as much as we love the railroads.
Whenever companies do something wrong, they get bailouts. They
Yeah.
really get bailouts. So I think we need to get rid of the bailouts because they gotta suffer the consequences.
Yeah, if you did something wrong, suffer the consequences. It's just what it is. There's no too big to fail. If you failed, you failed. Okay, it's as simple as that. All right, last article. I thought this was funny. West Virginia Department of Transportation partnering with Rail Explorers to bring rail bikes to Clay County, Virginia. So people are going to be able to power their own train by biking it along. It's just a very long, more or less recumbent railed bicycle over here. I've made the joke that for every baby boomer in a leotard that's blocking the road, they should be charged with hard labor and put on this. And instead of having BNSF and Norfolk Southern pulling trains, we should just punish any biker in a leotard should be punished to hard labor and be pushing trains around the country in this. That's what they should be doing. But again, unfortunately, I don't run the country. But that would be a firm and just punishment, I think.
Yeah, it's good. Heck, it'll be a punishment for all they did. Speaking of that, Dimitri, I got 3 memes, Brightline that I want you to show on live stream if you got a how.
I know. Well, let's leave poor Brightline alone. He's had enough to deal with, right? He's had enough to deal with. All right, let's go ahead.
Enjoy that.
Let's
Just enjoy that.
let's bring in our audience over here to go ahead and opine. We got 4 people in here. Let's go ahead, left to right. Who's ever here? Steven. Just Steven.
Bring Steven on.
Bring him on. Here we are.
I think he's a Navy geek. Welcome aboard.
Hello, Steven. How's it going?
Hi. Bro, there's so many takes that's been going on. I've just been waiting to speak for almost like an hour now.
I know. I'm sorry, man. We're here. You're here now. Go ahead.
You're here.
Yeah. So there was so many let's backtrack. So there was something. I think it was like David or Triro guy. Oh, by the way, I'm a Floridian too. I use Triro as well.
Nice, man.
I'm a Floridian too as well.
Wait, what county are you in?
From I used to live in Broward, but now I'm in the DR, in the Dominican Republic.
I'm in Broward.
Oh, well, I guess we finally found each other then.
I guess.
Yeah, I'm a born and raised Dade boy, so that's just me.
Well, you're Floridian too, so it's alright. We'll let it go. Well, there was something said about that the highways, the federal government won't fund transit expansion, but will fund highways and widening highways, which there's so many different things in that statement alone. So I'm sure you guys know about the economics of scale between transit and cars. And as coming from I am a huge advocate for transportation, including trains and metro systems, and I like to see more urban not urban sprawl, but more urban usage of transit. But the reason why the state of Florida is prioritizing highways is because it's a huge generator for the state. Now, for instance, the turnpike, that is pretty much the main essential artery between, I want to say commerce between the east and west of the state. Now you have interstates like 95 and 75 in the I-4 corridor that run through the state. But when you think about the toll roads in the state of Florida, they are huge revenue gainers for the state of Florida, and a ton of freight move with them. Now, when it comes to rail in the state of Florida, you don't really have an incentive for the state to actually go out and invest in it, because it's not proven, and B, there's no incentive to prove it, because we're already having so much of our freight and commerce being done through cars and trucks. Now, I would like to see more rail freight being conducted throughout the state of Florida, because we have CSX, we have Florida East Coast, we have all these different rail operators, but it's not profitable enough for the state of Florida to actually invest in them. Now, for passenger rail service, the reason why we're not actually we're not investing in private or public rail service in Florida is because Brightline is losing a lot of money. Now, the product is not fully there, and it's not really up to speed, and also it's a private company. There was a comment made earlier that said that Brightline is not going to be funded by the state of Florida, and one of you guys said it was stupid. But may I remind you that Brightline is a private company, and that's when you guys made the comment saying that we're funding roads and not trains. Now, in the logic is sound. I'll give you that, where we should be funding public rail opportunities like metro systems, because right now in Dade County, if you want to get from the airport to downtown, you have to get on the metro system, which is terrible because we have 2 lines that run parallel and that don't get you anywhere. The whole metro system in South Florida is ass, quite frankly. But the reason why the state of Florida is not prioritizing rail is because A, there's no incentive, B, it's going to cost too much, C, we have no incentive to prove it, because we already have everything already running through highways and bridges and tunnels. It doesn't make sense for the state of Florida to actually incentivize doing this, because it's just not financially viable.
Right. I understand what you're saying, which is why, again, this can be taken multiple ways. I will say this, and probably the reason why it's not being incentivized is because it's a very unfair market when you have a very big hand on the market, right? The free hand of the market to go ahead and do whatever, right? The thing is, and this has been noted by, I believe, Paul Ryrick, who was a very big conservative libertarian guy back in the 90s and early 2000s. He was part of, I think, the Free Congress Foundation. He said that the current transportation, this whole system is being dominated by highways and air transportation, and it's not really a free market outcome, right? Because you had the government go ahead and push a massive amount of incentives and funding, public funding, to both the creation of the highway system and the airways, very much at the expense of what used to be private railroad operators back in the 1950s, where they were being taxed at exorbitant rates to go ahead and fund basically scot-free a lot of these highways. Highways don't make money apart from more or less public funding. There are some private roads out there. Indiana Toll Road is one of them, and there's a lot of mixed opinion about that said road. And again, it's the thing. The problem is that there's a massive and sustained government intervention for a specific mode of transportation. So it's not really a fair market in that sense. Okay, the thing is, before government became super involved within pushing for roadways and airlines, intercity rail passenger systems and streetcars and transit systems were very much a part of the American life. I mean, you see so many old photos of back in Detroit and Los Angeles, New York, so many of these American cities that had so many cars, but yet a lot of streetcars and a lot of public transportation that was run in a very well-ordered fashion. So, yeah. So, again,
you had Ford and GM back in the 30s all the way through the 50s, and they screwed everything up for everybody.
Yeah, and we can go. There's a whole lot of stuff in there, but
favored individual automobiles rather than taking public transit, and they built the infrastructure to support it. And I agree, it was a bad decision, but at the time, we understand why.
Here's the thing about GM and the car companies at that time, because they were back then the railroad, in the 19th century, the railroads were the lobbyists.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were the lobbyists at the 19th century.
I mean, let's be fair. Whether we call them robber barons or whether we call them captains of industry, I mean, there was a lot of lobbying coming from the railroad in very illegal ways too. Let's be extremely fair and honest here.
Yeah, in the 20th century, I think that shifted from railroads to car companies, and now the car companies are the lobbyists, and the railroads don't have the same amount of power as railroads and airlines.
Well, what railroads are you talking about other than Amtrak and Brightline?
I'm talking about, this is way before Amtrak, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, before Amtrak, you had the P&R Railroad, you had all these regional railroads all over the country. And then they started losing money because people weren't taking the train anymore, and then Amtrak was founded.
Yeah.
But reason why that was caused was because of our government back in the 50s, because this is something that some people don't realize, is that when the Interstate Act was written, there was a clause in it saying, because it's the act and now in law, guess who had to pay for the road? The railroad. The railroad had to give money to their competition, and that was made tax-free. Dimitri, you even did a video talking about this. Am I right?
Yeah, and the thing is that you have to look. There's a lot of different ways that this has been pushed, because it's not an organic way. The way the country has been made post World War II. You had the funding and push for the creation of parkways through Robert Moses, which is probably one of the biggest ghouls that have ever had any sort of power within this country. You had the creation of the suburbs by William Levitt, and that started to push people away from what was normally done for thousands of years of having cities and then outlying towns where you just had more sprawl and sprawl and sprawl of suburbs. This is something that has never been done in human history, where people would live outside of town and then commute, for almost an hour into the city and then leave out. Usually had people.
That also killed the American Mall and third places, essentially.
Right. I mean, the American Mall is a completely other aberration that's very connected to the suburbs. But that's a different conversation for a different time. The fact of the matter is that the city planning and suburbanization of the United States caused a lot of the destruction that we're seeing today, right? And there's a lot of other foundational issues that's been caused by this, right? The dissolution of the family. Like I've said, is there some sort of thing as the nuclear family? No, there's always been an extended family. When there's been towns, people knew each other, or there were big families. There were cousins. There were other families that were related to the families. They usually lived and worked within a town, whether they were farmers or whether they were blacksmiths or whatever sort of job that they had. Within a city, you had different sorts of industries, okay? And of course, cities, there's a lot more people, there's a lot more going on. But when you look at the United States prior to World War II, there was a much more natural way of how cities were being built. And you can see the difference between how a city like Detroit, how it looked like and how it was being built. You look at the pictures of Detroit before World War II and after World War II, with the mass amount of suburbanization and the creation of the interstate highway system, it is not the same city.
Oh yeah,
apparently, yeah.
And that I can agree with.
Yeah, and there's a lot more reasons as to why Detroit is Detroit now. But again, probably one of the biggest parts was the shifting of people. Yeah, shifting of people because of the interstate highway system and the change of public policy during that time. That's what it can be chalked up to.
Okay, so let's go to what are you trying to advocate for right now in America when it comes to passenger rail? What would you like to see done?
Probably an overhaul of how we go ahead and build our cities. We have to start from the foundation, right? So making sure that, first of all, young people have jobs that they can be able to afford living in a city, to be able to afford having a family, okay? Because you can't have a passenger rail system or any sort of working system if you don't have people living in cities and thriving in cities, okay? We have to look at what's worked and adapt it to today, okay? So that's first of all. Before we even start with infrastructure, we have to start with people first, because infrastructure is about moving people. That's the first thing about it, right? Transportation infrastructure is about moving people.
Okay. I think that you're right, but I argue that instead of arguing the way cities are made right now, we can so first off, I'm targeting big metropolitan areas like Miami, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Boston, Chicago. Let's use Boston as my example, as they have their inner core and they have a pretty reliable the T. That's a pretty reliable metro system. I would like to have more commuter rails to go to the suburbs where you can go to a park and ride, take the train into the city, then you can use metro out. I think we should be able to have this, but in a larger scale all over America.
And that's a fair point. Yeah, and it's worked mixed depending on how it's done properly, because it's worked very well in places like Chicago. It hasn't worked so well, I would say, in probably some place like Miami, where I've taken the Golden Glades interchange. That's a complete, absolute nightmare to get to, and mainly because it's situated right in the middle of I-95 and the Turnpike, and a whole spaghetti bowl of absolute hell in there, right?
On Golden Glade.
Bring to a park and ride, they don't work everywhere. And here at Saints, there's a reason why Europeans think we're psycho, because we let her defend the car and suburban development instead of realizing that we're in the wrong. Yep. So the people who defend that need to realize the reason why the Europeans think we're idiots and psycho.
Well, David, I think Stephen does have a fair point when it comes to at least working with what we have and getting people used to transportation, is connecting it to at least where they are right now to get them onto it. And I think that's a fair point. Again,
We want to get people to use transit right now. Just wait for gas prices to spike, and those that are in like a city that has transit, they'll hop on it like crazy because it's a much cheaper alternative.
yeah. If the prices don't spike on transit.
Another way to make transit more accessible is more frequency. Because
Well,
if
that's a
you
given.
nobody doesn't like to wait for an hour or 2 hours. I've been there before. Trust me.
Me too.
Yeah.
I like to give an example of this because I was in London 2 weeks ago and I took the train everywhere. And may I tell you, the most I waited for a train was 13 minutes. I counted it on my watch. And the amount of frequency they have for their trains is amazing, where it was like, I could live here because I don't have to drive.
Yeah, and I think now with travel and with people starting to learn, and I think that's the best thing about the internet, right? Because people are able to learn about different systems without really having to travel. Especially now, if we're millennials or Zoomers and we're poor and we can't really go anywhere, or anywhere even within our own state. But you look at a place like Japan where they have just frequent headway of trains coming in and out, and I was lucky. Yeah. But I was very lucky to go ahead and experience that system. And the thing is just the scale of it and the way to go ahead and implement that here in the United States. It's almost going to be impossible to do that.
It's like you can retrofit to the best you can.
Yeah.
Instead of retrofitting with rapid bus lines, you can try and put a tram. You can try and dig underground and put a subway system. Even though it's going to be expensive as hell, there's other ways to retrofit an old system other than just using buses and just terrible service and frequency.
Yeah.
I think there's actually an area that Miami-Dade should be focusing on, and it's south of the Dadeland station of the Metro Rail. Yeah, there's a BRT. They're using a BRT instead, so we gotta replace that.
Yeah, we're never going to get the. We're never going to get the real expansion that the Metro Rail was supposed to be getting under the halfpenny tax. That is not happening in any sort of fashion. I don't know, in this century. But anyway, I think we're having a good conversation here. We got to bring in some more people. In fact, let's bring in Trucker Boy, and then in 2 minutes we're going to open it up for everybody over here who's in the audience. So Trucker Boy, welcome aboard. 2 minutes, I'll bring Grand Trunk Railline. So welcome aboard.
How's everyone doing today?
Good.
Doing good.
Hanging in there.
We're doing good.
On the microphone, so I hope this works.
Hey, Trucker Boy.
Let me give you the. Huh?
I said breaker. Trucker talk.
Not that kind of truck. Sadly, my truck doesn't have a CB radio in it.
No.
That's gonna suck. It's a garbage truck.
I wonder why CB never caught on, huh?
Sadly, it didn't. Anyway, let me give you the perspective from a guy who grew up in small town America. Sometimes the only option you have is a car. Why? Because they decided to get rid of those rail lines to save money, turn them into trails. I mean, that's a pretty good option. But the interstate isn't necessarily our idea. Who do you think came up with the interstate idea? Did we take it from someone? Or was this our idea?
Took it from the Germans.
Yeah.
Exactly. So really, this originated with the Germans in Nazi Germany. And we said, and the guy who saw it was the guy who traveled across Highway 30 when Highway 30 wasn't paved.
It's kind of funny how that idea has become full circle. And the ironic thing is that Germany was building massive train systems as well. And they still have a pretty robust passenger rail system.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. What was it? It was like some giant gauge train that Germany at the time was trying to build in the 1930s that was just absolutely insane. And it's just, it's kind of
not a good idea.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just hilarious, all the whatever they were trying to do.
That wasn't the only weird thing they built back then.
Oh, nothing.
That was not the only weird thing they built back then. If you look at some of the strange things they tested, your mind would be blown.
Yeah. I mean, it's according to some people, they're living out of UFOs now in Antarctica, but I don't know. But anyway.
Antarctica isn't real. It's just a wall of ice.
I'm gonna give you one thing. Have you heard on the Boeing topic you mentioned earlier? Have you seen the show on Netflix called The Case Against Boeing?
No,
Yeah.
I've heard of it, but because I don't have
It
Netflix
is
anymore.
a very good show. It digs into the 737 MAX 8 accidents and the investigation that went into that. There's a lot that Boeing does. Even after they learn their lesson, they still do.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the show here that Trucker Boy's talking about. It's called Downfall: The Case Against Boeing. Yep. This is it. 2022 American documentary film directed by Rory Kennedy, interviewing relevant people, featuring archival footage. The document looks into the events throughout the history of the aircraft manufacturer Boeing that led to the crash of two 737 MAX planes occurring within a short time span. Now, can only see now. Again, this was done in 2022. So I'd like to see them revisit this with everything that's gone on now with Boeing. Unless, I don't know, maybe they do some sort of addendum special or something like that, like a 30-minute special. I don't know.
And don't forget, the government and these companies and Boeing have ties. The government probably told these companies, go get rid of your loose ends. How do you get rid of loose ends? You kill them.
Yeah, this is again. It's not something at all that's new to the American government. They've been doing it for absolute years. It's what's the saying that America will say that, oh, we didn't do something, and then 20 years later it will become unclassified and say, yeah, we did it. So what? What are you going to do about it? That's kind of the way things get run over here.
Yep, and that's a very sad truth.
Yeah. All right. Grand Trunk Line. Let's bring him on there too, because this is a pretty fun conversation. Let's run this until about 9:15 and see where we get from here, and then we'll call it a night.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
Hey, welcome aboard. How's it going, man?
Welcome aboard.
Jimmy, show me let me boy.
Finally,
I'm gonna be funny, but it wouldn't.
Finally, they implemented the two-man cruise to Hague.
Yeah, that's something that's been needing to be done for a good bit. At least, look, it's a small step.
Implemented that?
Yep, that's been done. That's official now. The FRA has implemented and requiring two-person crews on freight railroad. So yeah, they finalized. Yeah.
Go out and say, all right, railroads, time to stop what you're doing. Ban the operation.
I've got BNSF scoping right now. I've got BNSF scoping.
Look, it's a good step. It's a good step in the right direction. It's something, albeit small, but it's something that's been needed for quite a bit. Is it going to solve everything? Absolutely not. It's not going to solve world hunger, cure cancer, and make America great again. But it's still something that's at least somewhere there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Now I want them to ban. Now I want them to ban PSR.
Oh yeah, that's a
I mean, we're talking
because it's a moneymaker for the government.
We're talking, since we've been talking about lobbying, you really want to see a lot of fun lobbying. Wait till you start putting up any sort of congressional hearing about precision scheduled railway.
You will be taken down faster than you put that sign up.
Oh yeah, I mean it will be interesting to watch, but I again, this is going to be something. It's going to get worse before it gets worse. We're just waiting for the next. Probably it's not going to be another East Palestine. There will be several more East Palestines.
I think we're waiting until the United States hits rock bottom. We haven't reached rock bottom yet.
I'm going to bring up something from a video game. If y'all remember the video game of Cyberpunk, but if you look at the lore of that game like the lore where the United States actually completely collapsed, like if you remember how that game started out, like even though it not be in reality, but how it is looking like the U.S. might be going down that path.
Yeah, and I did one game playthrough it, and the thing is, the thing is, I stopped playing it. It's like this is just like too much of reality right now. It's like basically, you know, Night City is more or less Miami. You know, just the amount of just craziness that happens. Okay, so I'm not jumping 30 feet with you know, gorilla arms and blasting people to bits. But I mean, it's when you look at it, it's like, yeah, what's so different between a cyberpunk dystopia to now? I mean, it's a lot of what's. Again, there's so much in that game that kind of just mirrors our own reality now. It's just, oh man, I don't know. I don't know, man.
I don't think we'll go there.
Yeah.
I don't think we will.
Anyway.
If everyone hates the government, everyone will overthrow the government.
The United States reflects cyberpunk so well, and a little hint of Fallout. A lot of trade. We have a lot of economic war with China. So, not a nuclear war.
What's that show?
I mean, so far they haven't invaded into Alaska yet.
Up in the separate like division of industry. What's that show called? Oh, I can't remember this show. You know the show where they divided the country up into separate divisions of industry?
You're talking about the show or you're talking about the movies? Because I think
this show. A TV show.
I was going to say, that sounds more like the Hunger Games.
Thank you. That's it.
Yeah.
If you think about it, that's kind of where we're going.
Wait, that's a TV show now?
What they're going to try and do is make us like the Hunger Games.
I thought that was a movie series. When did they make a TV series now of the Hunger Games?
Oh wait, it is a TV. It is a movie series. I forgot.
Okay, I was gonna say, am I missing something here?
I'm thinking it's a TV show because there's multiple movies on it.
Like, I know I've stopped just watching any new shows or anything like that. I'm like, okay, I guess they made a Hunger Games show. Whatever. It's probably something I'm not gonna watch at this rate. Speaking of movies and shows, honestly, the one that we've gone closer to. And it's kind of disturbing in a sense. If you've ever seen Idiocracy, that's where we're at right now.
Don't get me started on the Twitter nerds, okay? Please.
Hey, speaking of that, I got some good news, and it's not coming from South Carolina, but it actually coming from Pennsylvania. It's that the Reading Northern Regional Railroad up there is bringing back passenger rail, and they're expanding with passenger train stations all over their line. So
that's pretty good.
So we got a Class Railroad that is now bringing back passenger rail.
Hey, that's some good news.
It's only a matter of time before a Class 1, and the Class 1 that we are more likely going to be seeing to pull it off first that will bring back passenger rail is CPKC. They'll probably be the first Class 1.
Oh, that movie.
It's quite a possibility on that point, David, because we've seen now Brightline being spun off from the Florida East Coast. Again, not a Class 1, but still a pretty heavy, Class 2. But the thing is that, again, you're starting to see how more profitable Brightline is starting to become. They're starting to ramp up more and more. They are making, at least, they're increasing the revenue through every quarter. Again, they're not as much as they want it to be, thanks to a certain world event that happened in 2020. But they're still showing the rest of the country that it's a successful model. It is something that could be able to connect people, and not only that, be profitable still. And once we see more of the expansion, probably, I would say after Brightline West becomes a reality, you're probably going to see this explode throughout the country. And this is probably the best way to do it, right? It's either through private company, which is more or less a public-private partnership, because when you really look at how something like this has to run, you have to have a lot of public involvement and getting a lot of approvals to get everything done for the EIS studies and all the other sort of stuff. There's a lot that needs to get done, no matter what sort of funding you're doing for this, whether it's private funding or public funding. So when you really look at what Brightline is, it's a public-private partnership in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Brightline. I have something to talk about. Brightline is expanding north of Cocoa. Literally, they're heading to Jacksonville. They're trying to buy some property up north of Cocoa. So that's a good sign for Brightline to come.
Yeah, then they're going to go to Tallahassee.
I'm not quite sure about Tallahassee. None. I've heard some mentions.
Yeah, the capital somehow.
Okay, when I used to work with Brightline, of course Jacksonville was very much on there. If you look at the all aboard Florida map, and I'll try to bring it up for everybody over here. The original map had all the way up to Jacksonville and then to Orlando to Tampa. There were some talks about maybe to Gainesville or anything like that, but that's a very low possibility. Apart from that, there's been a lot of talk about to Charlotte, to Atlanta, to St. Louis, to Chicago, and of course Las Vegas to LA. That's been some of the other routes that they're looking at. I don't know beyond Jacksonville if they'll go ahead up to Savannah or anywhere else in Georgia or to anywhere close to the Panhandle in Florida. It's a possibility, but I doubt we're going to see anything past Jacksonville. There may be another company that comes in, or I don't know. But so far, I think, yeah. Like
a Brightline could create another company that would operate out of state. That would then take over Brightline West.
Now, I do think that if Brightline with them now thinking about going to Jacksonville first before, Tampa, I think that a smart idea because they won't have to deal with the NB. Plus, with, the people who are trying to give them a hard time with Interstate 4, I think this might be a better option just for right now until they can, get that part handled. Because, let's be honest, they're trying to crush them right there. And if they go with Jacksonville, it will be way easier because they'll be working with, Florida East Coast. So
I have no idea if Brightline's ever going to make it to Jacksonville, and I highly doubt it. I can see them going to Gainesville, but that's a very, 99% chance that's not going to happen.
No, I think it's
connect all the major cities in Florida. You gotta get Jacksonville.
Yeah, and here's the reason why.
It would also solve the overcrowding problem of Florida tourism. Because I could get a hotel in Jacksonville and take the train to Miami.
All right, here's the main reason why Jacksonville. The FEC currently runs between Miami to Jacksonville. FEC is based in Jacksonville. Not only that, it makes sense to just go ahead and already use the track, whatever they've done already to the corridor from West Palm Beach all the way up to Cocoa. They just have to do the same thing up all to Jacksonville, right? And they'll probably add stops. And here's the map as it was. This was all aboard Florida back in this is their 2013 map, and they thought they were going to be running in 2014. This privately owned, operated, and maintained passenger rail service will be running in 2014 at no risk to taxpayers. Okay, so they were four years late, but again, we know why they were a little bit late. But yeah, this is more or less what they were talking about: frequent, regular, scheduled round trips daily, gourmet meals and beverage service, reserved business and coach seating, Wi-Fi service, access to major international airports, seaports, existing commuter rail services like Metrorail and Sunrail. So yeah, Dave.
I'm sorry, you lost me at gourmet meals.
I don't know
if you didn't select.
Yeah.
First class.
That's a first for a train.
And here's the kicker with that, because the track right where Brightline split and the track right there that split at Cocoa, the kicker with it is that the track going to Jacksonville, that whole line past that is double track all the way. So Brightline could probably get this done in less than 10 years.
Yeah, but do they have the money for it, Ben? Like, they're getting a ton of the funding right now through grants and, like, private bonds.
I think they're just probably going to build Tampa first. They'll probably let that go for a couple years. It'll be Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, whatever's in between, Orlando and Tampa, maybe something in between Tampa, like Lakeland, or what they were planning before, like the Disney Springs stop that keeps appearing up and on. But after they get Tampa connected, they're probably...
I don't think it should be there's going to be a Disney Springs station. There's going to be a Reedy Creek station instead.
Probably.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. Again...
But don't forget the freight side of it. If I'm the FEC with a subsidiary passenger company, I'm going to take the full advantage to run freight trains at night on the Brightline tracks.
Yeah, which is what they've been doing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brightline and 40 East Coast are owned by the same company.
Well, they're technically sister companies. They used to be the same. They're technically related, but they're not the same company. Since FEC, well, they're owned by Fortress Investments, but they're still technically separate companies. But they very much have to work together to coordinate.
That's kind of like their uniter is.
Yeah.
The Fortress company.
Yeah, it's West Eden.
Speaking of Jacksonville,
West Edens, yeah.
Speaking of Jacksonville, you know what else? Why Brightline is going to Jacksonville? Because there's going to be a proposed commuter rail system in Jacksonville, in Duval County.
Yeah, it's either like you get on the train, you make a shot. Who knows?
How is it going with support there?
Like,
is there and here in Des Moines there was a proposal someone brought that they should connect a suburb to Des Moines, but I don't think it didn't get very far. It kind of just stopped in its tracks.
All right.
Well,
speaking of tracks, guys, we're at 9:18 here, so let's go ahead and put this train to station here. So, last words. Anybody wants to say anything?
Amtrak would never expand into Iowa.
One at a time. One at a time. David, anything?
Like, we'll be arriving at the station. I hope everybody had a great time. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to y'all later.
All right, that's a good way. Steven, last words.
Vote for trains or don't vote at all. This channel has a ton of crazy takes, but then you got some people with reason that come and save the day. I don't know, it's a cool channel. Subscribe if you want.
Appreciate it. You guys are helping me more than anything else in saying subscribe and like the channel. I haven't even said any of that this whole entire stream. All right, Trucker Boy, last words.
Amtrak would never expand to Iowa. Please like and subscribe to this man. He's very good at what he does.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. All right, Grand Trunk Railway fan. Any last words?
Okay.
All right.
Please advocate for rail. We need more rail. Like, subscribe.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
I feel like the last word should be like, like I like turtles. Just like I like turtles.
I like trains.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Train goes right to the front door.
All right. Genesis, last words.
All right. Okay, if you want to board the train of progress, please like and subscribe, share if you want, and if you want, and support the channel of Demetrius, the American Rail Club, or David Mitchell's channel, or basically my own channel as well. I have my own YouTube channel now, so.
All right.
We'll see you.
Don't forget, guys. We also have a Discord. You should come join.
Yes, join the Discord. We put the link. Let me go ahead and just pin the link over here if you guys want to join the Discord. And at some point when I do get this channel going, this is just a very slight teaser over here. At some point, I will get videos out there. We'll start building this channel back up again. At some point this year, I may lock away the Discord to whoever's here and then lock it away to people who pay to come onto the Discord, because at some point it's probably going to grow. But you guys are here. You're in for free. You're good. Okay, so this is the time to start getting into the Discord, because I'm going to start being more involved into here. I know I said that, but again, we're going to do stuff to get this channel going and to get more involved and to be an actual real force in becoming more of an advocacy group in this country.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it needs to happen. So join the Discord. It's free for now. Get in there and get involved. So we'll be getting there, because we're coming into our 10 years almost very soon when this channel has started. So
my channel will be turning 10 years old on the 22nd.
Awesome, man. Alrighty. So thank you all for joining on. It's been a wonderful stream. We will see you all next time. Take care and Godspeed. Good night.
We have now arrived at Satan, and please like and subscribe.
Did you say you have arrived?
Good night.
Good night. Bye. And have a nice.
Wow. That was